So, you've installed and played this cool game called Return, which is free on Steam, and you've been having a pretty good time with it so far. But once in a while, you reach this point where you feel lost. You load into a game, pick a character that looks cool, and the game hands you a row of wacky looking clothes and a knife. And once you load in, you stumble around in some boxes to see if you can make said clothes, until you get distracted by a chicken or another player that's just as confused as you, and suddenly you completely lose your train of thought. I'll admit, as I'm sure many have as well, that the tutorials in this game kind of stink. Don't get me wrong, it does its job relatively well, and a lot of the stuff that I'm going to bring up are brought up there as well. However, it definitely could have done a bit more, and maybe held your hand a little less. Among other nitpicky criticism. Regardless, worry no longer, for I, the loose guides guy, am here to help you figure out the loadout planning, looting, and the crafting, so that you can get to the fighting part much quicker. But before I dig ourselves in further, let me put out some disclaimers. I am not a professional when it comes to all of this. I have plenty of experience, yes, but I am not going to tell you how to be optimal about any of this, because I myself don't know how to be optimal. I am here to simply try and give a more comprehensive approach to explaining how the systems work, how they don't work, and everything in between. When it comes to going down to the nitty-gritty of it all, I'll leave it up to you to figure it out. Experience is the best teacher after all. Anyways, I've kept you all waiting enough as it is, so allow me to try and help you figure out how to plan, loot, and craft in Attila Return. That's quite a mouthful actually, let's shorten that to PLC.
Like that one group who told us not to chase waterfalls?
No, that's TLC.
Oh, I was thinking more like that North American esports team.
What? You mean CLG?
You mean the sandwich, right?
Close your eyes, come to me, feel alright.
To start things off simple, let's say that you don't want to touch the loadout screen with a 10-foot pole, and start you off with what you see by just ditching all of this and just getting into a match. Once you pick your character, you'll be met with the map of Lumia Island on the right, and a bunch of pictures and gibberish on the left. This is the loadout that you'll be working towards and using for the entirety of your match. Once you click on the little arrow on the side there, you'll see multiple loadouts that are made by the community that you can switch to before the match actually starts. Now, since we haven't really touched on what any of these actually mean yet, you can safely just pick any of the ones that your gut tells you to pick, as these loadouts usually complement your character's strengths. But if you still want a recommendation in terms of picking stuff blindly, you can see how these loadouts lay out their paths, which is a nice segue to the map on the right. Once you have a loadout selected, you'll see that a big line appeared over the map with some numbers over some areas. This is the path that you will be taking to find all the things you need to finish the loadout you've selected. For example, the area marked with the number 1 is the area you'd spawn in, and once you pick that place clean of what you want, you would move over to the next area that's marked in numerical order. Repeat this process until your items are purple, and boom, you have won the video game. Naturally, this was all a gross oversimplification, as after you actually load in the game, a lot of things can happen that can hinder your progress. What if someone starts harassing you with the various weapons at their disposal? Or worse, multiple people spawn in the same place as you and start taking all the items you need. Let's try to take it one step at a time. Starting now.
Hey, Natalie. Actually, this is a shop.
So once you load into the match and teleport onto Lumia Island, there are a few UI elements that I want you to be aware of. I'll point them out when they become relevant, starting with these rows of various junk over on the right. The top row here shows you what you can find in the current area that you're in. Everything you see in this list is what you want, so try not to leave the area until you found them all. The bottom row, on the other hand, are items that can be found pretty much anywhere, so you can usually go for these last. with an exception that I'll bring up later. Where do you find these items? Inside all the various containers that you'll run across. Boxes, cabinets, hollow tree trunks, you name it. Just give it an old right click and you'll open it up and see what's inside. Once you do, you'll notice that there is a lot of junk inside. Well, crap, you might be saying to yourself. Am I supposed to remember and recognize each and every single item that I need just to make my stuff? Thankfully, no. The game highlights all the items that you need for your plan with a small yellow triangle within the border of said items. So if you were to pick anything up, prioritize the ones with those triangles. In fact, the game has a setting that's turned on by default, where finding said triangle items in something will have the game automatically pick them up for you. Isn't that neat? Anyways, you picked up all the things that the list on the right told you to take, followed by a nice little sound. Congratulations, you found everything you needed from this area. Now all that's left is to go on the next one that's marked on your map. Hey, hold on, that's quite far away. Am I really gonna have to walk all the way there? Well, I won't deny the cardio is good for you. You do have an alternative that you can spot on the map. These little arrows are teleporters. Or hyperloops if you want to stick to the lore. These little suckers will allow you to teleport to any part of the map in only a few seconds. The downside is that they aren't everywhere and only exist on certain parts of the map. And once you get to use one, your character gets a little woozy from the experience for a few seconds after transport. This probably doesn't sound too bad at first, but know that everyone on the island is a little jumpy. So you magically appearing in front of them might give them a little scare. Anyways, you hop on the teleporter, materialize in the next area you're told to be in, and repeat the process of looting and crafting everything in that area until you run out of said areas. And speaking of crafting, now you may have noticed that in the process of grabbing all the things you need, your inventory started to pile up. This is a problem because you're gonna need more materials than you have inventory space. The solution? Make use of the things you pick up and start crafting stuff. If your inventory has items that can be used to craft something, a new row of items appear right above it. Now you may think, oh, I can craft something right now. Might as well do it, right? But all that is important in life. Do not just craft something just because you can. Materials are scarce and are only going to be even rarer as the game goes on. Just because you can make something with the materials you have on you, that does not mean you should. You should only craft the things you know you will make use of, such as food, drinks, and like our current topic, your loadout. Wait, but how am I meant to tell which of these shirts are the ones my loadout needs? My loadout wants something purple, while all of these are green. Remember the yellow triangles on the items we were looking for when looting? Those show up on the things you want to craft too. So once again, if you're going to craft anything, prioritize the items marked with the triangle. With that sidebar out of the way, how does one craft when applicable? Simple. Either press on the item itself with your mouse, or use the crafting shortcut that is bound to Z by default.
Actually,
Once you do either of those, your character will sit down and begin crafting. Once they've finished, they'll use up the materials they needed to make said item and replace them with what they just made. If that item was needed in your loadout, they'll even equip itself automatically. Some extra notes to bring up about the crafting shortcut that I've mentioned earlier. It will always craft the leftmost item in the crafting row, and it has a nice quality of life feature that'll definitely help the folks who aren't as accustomed to the whole crafting shtick. If you try to craft something that you don't need, which requires the material you do need, the shortcut will stop and warn you that you need those materials for something more important, such as your loadout. Once you have crafted a bunch of the things that are marked with our trusty yellow triangle, we now freed up some more inventory space to keep doing it. That, my friend, is the gameplay loop for the early game in a nutshell. Spawn in, grab everything you need in an area, craft with them, and go to the next area. Repeat until we're all purple. But like I said just now, in a nutshell. Before I elaborate though, I want you to go into training mode, or into a real match, I won't stop you, and try to make your loadout as quickly as you can with what I've told you so far. Once you got all your purple items crafted and equipped, then huzzah! You know what to do when no one bothers you in the early game. But now it's time for me to bring up all the problems that you might run into when in that process. Naturally, with all plans in life, not everything is gonna go smoothly without any bumps on the road. Case in point, the rest of the players. You may think that the worst thing other enemy gamers can do to you in the early game is to try and kill you, but while that can and will inconvenience you for a very short amount of time, the worst they can do is get your materials before you can. Like I've mentioned before, materials are scarce and are only going to get rarer as time goes on. These cabinets, tables, logs, and so on that you've been looting do not get a fresh new supply of bits and bobs besides what other players put in them. So for that exact reason, if you're put in a position where you think you have to choose between fight or loot, the answer is always loot. It's like loading into a match of another battle royale game like PUBG. If you and one guy land in the same spot, the winner isn't whoever can land the first few punches, it's whoever grabbed the 44 Magnum first. Consider this, every other player in the early game is in the same boat as you. They have no items, and they must craft to get stronger. If you attack someone else, be it a player or a boar, even once, you'll realize how much time it'll take to actually take them down. Anytime a player spends trying to right-click something in the early game, is time they're wasting by not grabbing valuable materials and crafting actual proper weaponry. No, getting shot at while looting is not the worst thing another player can do to you in the early game. Them getting to a box before you can is. Oh, so you're telling me to just ignore the person who's just peppering me with bullets behind me? Yes, I am. You have to speedrun getting all your stuff before everyone else can. And if you have to dash or stun others to get to that box, do it. Because if someone got their loot before you did, that means they finished making their loadout, and nothing is stopping them from bringing in the hurt in your general direction. In the case that someone did, for whatever reason, waste all their time whittling your health bar with no items and killing you, congratulations! You are still in the lead, as you're gonna respawn even faster than when they killed you, and you still have all the items you picked up. If anything, dying will let you choose to respawn somewhere else, which is just a very roundabout way of using the teleporter from before. You may ask, but didn't they get a lot of XP for killing me? No, not really. If you just stood in front of them crafting your items while they just peppered you with attacks, you'll realize that you've been leveling up way faster than them. So in case I haven't made my point clear yet, don't attack anyone until you finish building your loadout. It's a waste of time at most, and you'll just lose the fight at worst. Whew, anyways, let's bring up some more subtle but just as bad worst case scenarios that can happen in the early game. Say you inevitably lose the rat race. The other players got to their items first and are now just harassing the shit out of you. Like, a lot. So much so that every time you try to respawn in the same area to start looting again, they shut you down faster than you can give them the stink eye. In the case that the area you're trying to loot in has been picked clean and extremely hostile, there is not much choice but to go and loot some other area. Don't worry, while you probably won't find all your materials in one area like the one you're meant to be in, you'll still find something. And like I brought up before, you'll get a nice list of items on the right of your screen when you enter an area that has something you need. If you can't be arsed to explore uncharted territory, there is another alternative to getting materials that is convenient, but costly. You can also just pay 30 credits to have said materials Amazon delivered to your very location, directly to your inventory. You can do this to teammates too, in the case that they ask for it. How do you make use of such luxuries? By opening up the V-pad, which by default is set to V on your keyboard. In this menu, you get to see a bunch of pretty handy information, but what we're looking for is on the right side of the V-pad. Here you see your loadout, and clicking on any of the individual pieces will show you its crafting tree. Once you right-click one of the common items, the ones with the gray borders, it'll be delivered to you by a handy drone, and huzzah! You now have one piece of what you need. The downside to this is that it's obviously expensive to just order a bunch of materials like this, and you're only allowed to order common items. So only do this when you either have more than enough money to spend, or you're just too lazy or impatient to look for the items yourself. One side note that I should bring up about these remote drones, some loadouts actually tell you to use them, despite being no tell for it on the loadout screen. In the case that you pick a loadout like that, open up the V-pad and see if there's any items listed at the bottom. If there aren't any, you're good to go. If they are, simply right-click them in there, job done. You still with me? Because I've got a few more things to bring up, both in UI elements and general gameplay advice. But I am aware that I've unloaded a lot of information on top of you. The worst thing to do when you're learning is taking in too much in one go. So you're free to pause the video again and go back to see if you got it all figured out. Get it to stir and simmer in your brain for a bit. Don't worry, I'll wait. You back? Alright, sick, let's keep going. Now, you've probably noticed that some items in our checklist over here have a yellow line under it. And sometimes when you pick something up or finish crafting, some of the items start lighting up for a few seconds. What both of those entail is just a simple visual to prioritize some items over others. They can be completely ignored and you should still be able to finish your build without issue. But just to satisfy your curiosity, for the items that start glowing, what you picked up, or finished crafting, can be combined with said glowing item, which basically just means that once you find it, you can immediately start crafting with it. As for the underline, following the route that your loadout has set, the item with the underline can only be found in the area you're currently in. Bear in mind, it doesn't mean that the area you're in is the only area with said item, just the only area in your loadout's path. That line over the map with the numbers. Now back to the worst case scenario. In the chance that you don't really want to spend any credits to order your items, yet all your areas are basically off limits to you, you might feel a bit lost on where else you can find what you need. Well, good news, my friend. By opening up the scoreboard with Tab, you'll see the map of the island over on the right, and that map will show you which areas have the items you're looking for. Let's see, did I forget anything? Oh, right, animals. No, this video's got on long enough. If anyone wants me to, I'll make another video about weapon mastery and farming and so on. But for now, the quick details involve crafting and looting. See, while animals won't try to dodge your moves or do much of anything besides attack you when you attack first, they still pack a mean bite and most of them have a pretty chunky health bar. So attacking them without a proper weapon is going to take a lot of time that you could be using to loot other materials that don't bite back. And once again, they bite hard. Wasting time killing them slowly is one thing, but losing to them? Don't embarrass yourself. Get as close as you can get to a real weapon and then try killing them. Okay, you've done it. You grabbed all this scrap you needed and used it to make your entire loadout, rocking a pretty purple across the board. Congratulations, you have successfully survived the early game. But now it's time for the age-old question. Now what? Why, it's quite simple, my clueless friend. Now that you have what you need to deal damage, go start dealing damage. See an animal? Farm it for XP and food. See another player? Farm them for XP and their food. And did you really think that you were done crafting stuff? In your fucking dreams, bud! There's another whole tier worth of equipment that you're gonna be trying to get your grubby hands on. You thought you were strong with these? Wait till you wear these! But before I start telling you about obtaining these, I actually should have an old tape around here somewhere that talks about the same thing. Ah, there it is. Let me just stick this in here, and... Hey you, I see that you finished your build and are now just standing around doing nothing. What, you think now that you finished crafting your loadout and unlocked your skills you're good to go? Wrong! You ain't even close to done from crafting and farming. Far from it! What do you mean? You asked the deranged voice in your head. What else could I be crafting or farming for? The shiny yellow things! You ever notice on the side or in the chat or hell, sometimes even on the map, these funny looking icons? Pick those up! These are rare materials that allow you to make the good shit that not only is better than what you already got, but turns you into a god. Want to destroy someone's bloodline with only one burst of your skills? The shinies got you covered. Want to be able to cast shit without ever worrying about cooldowns? Don't mind if I do. But hold on, you obnoxious lunatic. What does farming have anything to do with this? I'm getting there. You may think that having all your skills unlocked means you're ready for a fight now, right? No, you fucking idiot. See these weird lights below your skills? You can level up your skills. How do you level up these skills? By getting XP. How do you get XP?
Kill shit.
See an animal after finishing your build?
Destroy it.
You get XP by both dealing damage and killing. So the more HP they have, the more XP you can get out of them. See the bear?
Kill the bear. The chicken are next.
Wait, slow down. What if a player comes by and interrupts my crafting and farming?
Farm them too. It may not be a bear or a chicken, but it'll do.
You wanna know what else you get for farming? Money! Sometimes the shiny things on the map go away before you can get to them. It happens sometimes. But you know what else happens sometimes? Being rich. See that kiosk? You can buy the shinies there instead. As you can see, the farming and crafting grind never ends. So don't stop doing any of them. Even when you have shinies, you should make more shinies because some are better than others. Blade boots? How about some red shoes? Tindalos? Fucking prominence, baby! Don't stop crafting and farming even after you finish your puny purple build, or I swear to God! No. God, the tape player broke. That was weird. Anyway, that tape did forget to bring up a few things that should be known. Every single gold item that can be crafted requires a rare material that literally everyone is going to fight tooth and nail for. And for good reason. The items you can make with them truly are godly. If you check back onto the scoreboard, you should have timers related to said materials to let you know when and where they appear on the map, with the occasional reminder coming up from the side. But there comes the question. There's so many of these rare materials, which one do you go for? Remember the V-pad? Once you completed your original purple loadout, your V-pad should automatically set in a completely new set consisting of a bunch of gold items. You can click on these pieces of gear, and they should tell you what rare material you need to make it. And also all the new common materials you need to start scrounging around for. Yes, unfortunately, while there are some gold items that can be directly upgraded to with your current purple item, most of the time you're gonna need to make an entire new item for it. Remember the scoreboard trick from earlier, where it shows you all the materials you need and where to find them? That'll come in handy in this stage. So, there you have it. Once you finish your purple loadout, start all over again by looking around for more materials so you can get ready to craft even better gear, with the addition that you can at least start and win fights with other players instead of cowering from them. So remember, no purple, no win. Yes, purple, we win. Yes, gold, we win harder.
Wait, what about blood items? You never brought those up.
Well, there were gold items until recently, so it's mostly just a visual thing to...
What about the late game menu that's bound to P? That's pretty important.
I feel like the V-pad serves the exact same purpose. I mean, sure, I guess if
You
you're...
still didn't bring on the loaded menu.
The video's gone on long enough. I could just make
and
another...
there's shards. And
I
also
don't know
air
about
supply
you
and
guys, but
campfires.
I was born into